The keys in my pocket jingled louder than usual as I closed the supply closet, not because they were any heavier, but because the hallway was that quiet. Late shift at the shipping center always felt like this. A hushed maze of echoing footsteps, humming fluorescents, and the occasional beep from the sorting belt. No music, no chatter, just routine. I was halfway to the maintenance desk with a half-used box of gloves when I saw it. Black leather, folded neatly, just lying there beside the vending machine. At first, I thought maybe someone dropped a phone case or a pack of mints. But when I bent down and picked it up, the weight and shape were unmistakable. A wallet. It felt warm, still holding the heat of someone's pocket. And that gave me pause. Whoever dropped it hadn't gone far. I glanced around. The hallway was empty, save for the yellow mop bucket I'd left near the bathrooms. No voices, no movement. Not even the cleaning crew had made their rounds yet. I thumbed open the wallet, not out of curiosity, but protocol. We're supposed to check for ID and log any lost item in the break room ledger. I figured I'd find a union card, maybe a license from one of the newer guys who didn't know not to bring valuables into the warehouse. But then I saw the name, and I froze. Daniel S. Carmichael. If you've ever had one of those moments where your stomach drops before your brain fully catches up, that was me, right then. That name hadn't crossed my mind in years, and it sure as hell wasn't supposed to be here. Not in the place where I punched in 5 nights a week, not in the company where I'd finally managed to put some distance between the man I used to be and the one I was trying to become. Because Daniel Carmichael wasn't just a name. He was the reason I'd left my old job, my old apartment, my old friends. He was the guy I used to call best friend. Until he wasn't. It's strange how memory works. I stood there, holding that wallet, and it was like I could suddenly smell that old dive bar in Milltown again. Sweat, beer, bleach, and hear the clink of shot glasses. It was the night Daniel got me fired. Or maybe I got myself fired, depending on who you ask. We worked security at the same place back then. College football stadiums, concerts, some big box retail gigs when the season was slow. We weren't rookies, but we weren't management either. Mostly we held radios and tried not to let fights break out in the bathrooms. Daniel was charming, the kind of guy who could get someone to hand over a fake ID with a smile. Girls liked him. Bosses gave him the benefit of the doubt. I liked him too, once. Until the night I covered his shift because he said his mom was sick. Until I found out he'd been out drinking instead. Saw the photos on social media, tagged by a girl we both knew. And when the boss asked where Daniel had been, guess whose name he dragged down to save his own? I think Kyle was the one who told me he'd take the night off early. Just like that, I was out. No paycheck, no explanation. Just silence from him for weeks. Then one lazy text, 2 weeks too late. Sorry things got messy, hope you're good. I wasn't. I'd been couch surfing for 3 weeks and couldn't even look at my own reflection without feeling stupid. Back in the hallway, the air felt different now, like the vents had started pushing out colder air, even though I knew it was in my head. I flipped through the wallet slowly. A license. Recent local address, same name, same angular handwriting on the emergency contact card, health insurance, company key card. That last part hit hardest. The plastic badge had the same logo I wore on my chest. Dayton Regional Shipping Services. Blue lettering on a white background. And the photo. Shorter hair, a trimmed beard, but unmistakably him. Daniel Carmichael worked here, with me, or near me. I'd never seen him on my shift, and I would have remembered. But DRSS ran 3 shifts a day across 4 wings, and about 600 employees rotated through weekly. It wasn't impossible. I stared at the photo for a long second before putting the wallet back together and sliding it into my coverall pocket. Technically, I should have turned it in. There was a whole drawer in the break room labeled Lost and Found, but I didn't move. Something in me, petty or principled, I don't know, just couldn't do it. Not yet. I spent the next hour pretending to mop, though the floor was already spotless. My brain kept tugging in 3 directions at once. One part of me said, "You're overthinking this. Be a decent guy. Return the damn wallet. People change." Another part snapped, "This is karma knocking. He screwed you. Now he needs something back. Let him sweat." The third part whispered the question I couldn't shake. Why the hell is he here? Dayton's not big. The odds of us ending up at the same company without knowing it? Low. Unless it wasn't coincidence. Unless he knew. I tried to shake it. Maybe it was just bad luck and bad timing. Or maybe he had no clue I worked here at all. Still, I kept the wallet on me. It was nearly midnight when I finally saw another soul. Artie, the graveyard dock supervisor, shuffling into the break room with a pack of pretzels. "Yo, Kyle," he grunted. "You wiped down the east lockers yet?" "Not yet," I lied. He just nodded. "Do 'em before 2. We got that new batch of temp IDs printing tomorrow." My heart thudded. "New hires?" "Yeah, some overflow guys from temp agency. They'll be here next week." I wondered if Daniel was one of them. That might explain why I hadn't seen him yet. After Artie left, I slipped into the staff computer in the corner of the room. I wasn't supposed to use it for anything but equipment logs, but I knew how to sidestep the filters. I pulled up the internal employee directory, typed Carmichael. 3 entries popped up. None were him. I tried Daniel Carmichael next. Still nothing. Strange. Maybe he was using a different name now? Then I remembered the key card. I took it back out and flipped it over. The ID number read 2028 B Temp A Temp Badge. No last name printed. Just Daniel S. and the barcode. And a date. Issued August 25th, 3 days ago. I didn't sleep that morning when I got home. I laid on the couch with the wallet on the coffee table, just staring at it. I told myself I'd return it later. Maybe drop it at HR anonymously. Maybe leave it in his locker, if I could figure out which one was his. But first, I needed to know, what kind of person did he become in the years since he wrecked my life? And why was part of me so desperate for that answer? I opened my phone. Typed his name into Facebook. Nothing. Tried Instagram. A few locked accounts. None of them him. Then I hit LinkedIn. There he was, smiling in a cheap suit, marketing himself as a logistics coordinator and warehouse workflow specialist. Whatever that meant. No mention of DRSS, just vague dates and fluff words. But the thing that made my jaw tighten? Under skills, one of them read, Team Leadership. Hell of a thing, coming from a guy who let his so-called teammate take the fall. That afternoon I got a text. Unknown number. "Hey, this is Daniel S. Any chance someone turned in my wallet from last night? I think I lost it near the vending area." My hands clenched. He didn't know who I was. Didn't even recognize the number. I'd changed it after leaving Milltown anyway. I stared at the text for 5 whole minutes, then typed 3 words. "I have it." His reply came back instantly. "Oh, thank God. Can I swing by to get it? I'm around until 6 if that works." I didn't reply. Instead, I turned my phone over. I needed to think. The wallet sat in the glove compartment of my car for 2 days. I kept telling myself I'd return it. First, I thought I'd just hand it to HR. Let them deal with it. Then I figured I'd leave it in the locker room, anonymously, maybe wrapped in a paper towel with a Post-it. But every time I picked it up, that name hit me like a flick to the chest. Daniel S. Carmichael. Like it wasn't just a name, but a rerun of every moment I spent trying to rebuild after he pulled the rug out from under me. I wasn't proud of it, but the truth was, I didn't want to let it go. Not yet. And if that makes me petty, so be it. By Thursday night, I was back on shift, mopping near the east docks when I heard someone laughing down the far end of the hall. Two voices, one male, one female. Probably temps. This was the orientation week, after all. I turned the corner and saw them by the water cooler. And there he was, Daniel. Same smirk, same posture. He wore the DRSS temp vest now, orange, crinkled, already slightly stained. But there was no mistaking him. He still had that habit of tossing his head a little too hard when he laughed, like he was trying to shake off seriousness. The woman beside him, I recognized her as Marla from HR, gave him a playful shove and told him she had to get back to her office. As she walked away, Daniel leaned against the cooler, still sipping. Then he turned, and our eyes met, just for a second. He looked away without even a blink of recognition, like I was just another janitor, and in a way, I was. But man, something inside me twisted at that. It wasn't that I wanted an apology. Okay, maybe I did, but more than anything, I just wanted him to see me, to realize. That same night, I waited until my break and went to the far wing where the temp lockers were assigned. We had a shared break room calendar for cleaning schedules. I checked it, noted the temp locker numbers for new employees. Daniel's locker was marked as 52B. I waited until near end of shift. Everyone had cleared out except a few night loaders and me. I slipped the wallet into locker 52B. No note, no explanation. Just dropped it there and walked away. And for a moment, I felt something that almost resembled closure. Almost. The next day, he texted again. Hey, got the wallet back in my locker. Thank you. No clue who returned it, but really appreciate it. I could have ignored it, but I didn't. I just typed, "You're welcome." That was it. No name, no hint. But maybe, just maybe, he would connect the dots. That weekend, I worked Saturday overtime. It was brutal. Backlogged orders from a warehouse down in Columbus that had a pipe burst. We were pulling double inventory, loading trucks with pallets that wouldn't stop coming. Around 3 a.m., I was helping rewrap a busted shrink wrap pallet when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned. Daniel. He smiled. "Hey man, Kyle, right?" I nodded slowly. My heart kicked like it was trying to break my ribs. He extended a hand. "I think you're the one who returned my wallet." I stared at his hand, then shook it. "Maybe," he chuckled. "Appreciate it. Could have been a nightmare replacing all that. You didn't take anything, I hope." I raised an eyebrow. He laughed again, backpedaling. "I mean, not that you would, just, joking." I didn't laugh. He cleared his throat, glanced around. "Listen, have we met before?" he asked, frowning. "You look familiar." There it was. The flicker of recognition. I let it hang for a beat. Then I said, "We used to work security, Milltown, 4 years ago." His face paled like I'd slapped him. "Holy Kyle Jacobs?" I nodded. The smile drained from his face. I didn't realize you were here," he said softly. I said nothing. He stepped back a little. "Damn, look, I gotta finish this," I cut in, nodding at the busted pallet. "Before the wrap sets crooked." He hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, of course." He turned and walked away without another word, and I just stood there, hands twitching against the roll of shrink wrap, heart thudding in my ears like I'd just run a mile. The next 2 nights, he avoided me, didn't cross my path, didn't text again, didn't look my way, which was fine by me. Except it wasn't, because now I couldn't stop thinking about what he would have said if I let him. Was it guilt? A rehearsed apology? Or just self-preservation? Monday morning, just after punching out, I walked out to my car and found an envelope tucked under my windshield wiper. No name on it, no address, just one word scribbled on the front, Kyle. Inside was a handwritten note. I messed up, man. I know I did. I was a coward, and I blamed you because I thought I could get away with it. You didn't deserve that. I've carried it a long time. If you never want to talk to me again, I get it, but I needed you to hear it at least once. I'm sorry. If you want to say something, anything, I'll be around. Daniel. I sat in the car for 20 minutes, rereading the note, hands clenched around the wheel, and then I folded the letter back into the envelope and put it in the glove box, right where the wallet had been. I didn't know yet if I wanted to forgive him, but now the ball was in my court. I didn't answer his letter. Not at first. I left it in the glove box where it sat like a weight. Every time I reached in for my parking tag or a bottle of hand sanitizer, my fingers would brush against that envelope. The paper had started to curl at the corners, like it was waiting to be handled, but I wasn't ready. Not because I was still furious. Honestly, I wasn't even sure what I felt anymore. But because forgiving someone isn't like flipping a switch. Especially when you've spent years training your mind to pretend they didn't exist. Daniel's apology was clean, handwritten, and probably rehearsed a dozen times in his head. Mine, if I ever gave it, wouldn't be like that. It would come out jagged, chipped around the edges. So I didn't say anything. Not yet. I saw him again 2 days later, this time in the maintenance shed, of all places. I'd gone in to grab a replacement air filter for one of the break room vents. When I turned the corner, he was there, crouched, going through a box labeled spare extension cords. We both paused. Neither of us spoke at first. Then Daniel gave a short nod and said, "Hey." I nodded back. He stood. "Did you, get the note?" I crossed my arms. "Yeah." Silence. He looked down at the floor for a second, then back up. "I meant it, you know. I didn't just write that because I felt guilty. I mean, I do feel guilty, but I also realized I never gave you the chance to say anything, back then or now." I held his gaze. "And what if I have nothing to say?" He nodded slowly. "Then I'll respect that." He moved to step past me, but I stopped him. "I didn't lose everything because of you," I said quietly. "But you lit the match." He turned, his mouth tight. "I know. And it took me 2 jobs, 1 broken lease, and 18 months of ramen noodles to rebuild what I lost." His voice dropped. I didn't realize how bad it got. "Because you didn't ask," I said. He looked away. "I should have," he admitted. I let that hang between us. Then I walked past him without another word. I could feel his eyes on my back. That night, I barely slept. I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, hearing its rhythmic click, 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 like a metronome counting the beats between all the things we left unsaid. I thought about the way he'd looked at me. Not smug, not defensive, just tired. And maybe that's what threw me. I expected some version of the Daniel I used to know. Cocky, full of deflection, always angling for advantage. But this guy? He looked like someone who'd screwed up and lived long enough to hate that version of himself. I wasn't sure what that meant for me. Friday morning, I clocked in early. I had to refill all the cleaning supply stations before the noon audit. While stocking paper towels near the locker area, I heard the door open behind me. I didn't have to turn around to know who it was. "You're here early," Daniel said. "Yeah," I replied. "Inventory." He hesitated. "Want coffee?" I finally turned to look at him. He held out 2 styrofoam cups, 1 in each hand. I took the one on the left. He didn't flinch. "Thanks." He gave a small shrug. "Least I can do." We drank in silence for a moment. Just 2 guys near lockers, pretending the past didn't sit 5 feet away from us like a third person. Then I asked, "Why'd you write the note instead of just saying something in person?" He exhaled. Because when I looked at you, I didn't feel like I had the right to speak. That made me pause. I didn't expect to see you here, I said. Thought you left Dayton years ago. I did, he said. Went to Tulsa. Didn't work out. Came back 3 months ago. Why DRSS? He half smiled. Because they were hiring, and I needed work. You still screwing people over for shifts? He winced. Fair. I sipped my coffee. You know what bothered me most? He shook his head. You didn't just let me take the fall. You let me think you'd be there, and then disappeared. He nodded slowly. I was scared, knew I was wrong, thought if I kept my head down it would blow over. Well, I said, it didn't. He nodded again. We didn't finish our coffees, but we didn't throw them out either. Just set them on the ledge and went our separate ways. It wasn't closure, not yet. But it wasn't silence either. Later that week, I noticed something strange. Daniel wasn't just showing up to shifts. He was staying late, volunteering to help the older guys in dispatch. He even took a few hours with Gus, the forklift guy, who barely talks to anyone under 40. Word spread quick. One of the line supervisors, Monica, said he was pretty useful for a temp. I didn't say anything, but I watched. I'm not proud of it, but part of me was waiting for him to screw up, to show his true colors. He didn't. Not that week. Not the week after. Then, 3 weeks after the wallet incident, something happened that shifted everything again. It was a Friday. Thunderstorms all day. A power outage shut down 2 of the scanning stations, and a bunch of new hires started complaining. One guy, Tyrell, fresh from the agency, threw a tantrum in the dock room after being asked to do a manual load count, started yelling at the shift lead. People backed away, HR wasn't around. Most folks were too tired to intervene. And then Daniel stepped in. Calm, firm, didn't yell, didn't showboat, just spoke to the guy like he was human. De-escalated the whole thing. Afterwards, he didn't brag, didn't say a word about it to anyone, just went back to loading. I pulled him aside at lunch. We sat on the back loading ramp, watching the steam rise off the blacktop where the rain had hit and sizzled. You handled that well, I said. He shrugged. I've been in his shoes. Angry, tired, feeling like the world's stacked against you. I looked over at him. You different now? He gave me a look I hadn't seen on him before. Not when we were friends, not when we were coworkers, and certainly not when I found his wallet. It was a quiet look, something like, peace? I want to be, he said. That night, I went home, opened the glove box, and took the envelope out again. I burned it, not because I wanted to erase what he'd done, but because I didn't want to keep holding onto it like a scorecard. I figured if I ever needed to remember the words, they'd already burned themselves into me. The thing about rebuilding trust is that it doesn't come with a checklist. There's no form you can fill out, no amount of coffee cups or thank you texts that make everything right. Sometimes, you don't even realize it's happening. Until one day you stop flinching when the other guy walks in the room. That's what started happening with Daniel. We weren't friends again, not in the way we used to be, but we talked about work, about the heat, about the vending machine that kept eating dollar bills without spitting out the damn trail mix. And slowly, I noticed things shifting. He wasn't performing. He was showing up. One Thursday night, I found myself sitting across from him in the break room, both of us chewing on overcooked burritos from the microwave. The silence was companionable, not tense. The radio above the fridge was playing old alt-rock hits, static crackling between choruses. You still into sketching? Daniel asked, out of nowhere. I looked up, chewing. You remember that? Yeah. Used to do it on receipt paper between shifts. Haven't done it in a while, I said, brushing crumbs off my vest. Feels like a part of someone else's life now. He nodded. I stopped playing guitar for a long time. You play again now? Just started. I raised an eyebrow. What made you pick it up? He tapped the table. Trying to rebuild old pieces. See what still fits. That line stayed with me for days. That weekend I got a call from my brother Nate. He and I don't talk much, not because of any drama, but because life has a way of pushing people into separate lanes. He told me Mom had been asking about me. Said she missed seeing me at Sunday dinners. You still working nights? Nate asked. Yeah, I said. Still at DRSS. Any new faces? The irony made me smile. Yeah, I said. 1 or 2. He told me to come by next weekend. Bring something sweet. Something I baked. I laughed. I clean floors, man. I'm not Martha Stewart. Bring cookies. No excuses. I said I'd think about it. Back at work, the days passed without drama. Daniel kept showing up on time. He stopped trying to impress people and just helped. He filled in when the line was short, switched shifts when a guy called out with the flu, walked a trainee through how to refill coolant fluid on the baler. He was becoming a fixture. So much so that when his temp contract was about to expire, Monica from HR asked me privately, "You know this guy, right? Daniel S.?" I hesitated. "We worked together once. Long time ago. What do you think? Worth hiring full-time?" That was the moment. I could have said no. Could have told her everything. The way he used to cut corners. The time he let me take the fall. I had all the receipts. But instead I said, "He's changed." She looked surprised. "That your opinion as a coworker? Or as someone who's watching?" I said, not guessing. She nodded slowly. Good to know. A week later, Daniel was offered a full-time position. He didn't gloat, didn't even tell me. I heard from Artie first, who grumbled about another one of the temps jumping on benefits like it's a lifeboat. When I caught Daniel near the freight elevator that evening, I asked him, "You staying?" He smiled, sheepish. "Looks that way." "Congratulations, I said. "Thanks." He paused, then cautiously, "You cool with that?" I didn't answer right away, but I gave him a small nod, and that was enough. Then came the night that tested everything. It was a Friday. Thunderstorms again. We had a partial power outage, just like the last time, but this time, the alarm system got knocked out too. I was called to check on a broken loading bay scanner. Most folks were scrambling around, trying to clock out before another shift delay. I was in the back corridor when I saw a blur of movement near the supply cage. Not unusual. It's where we keep shrink wrap, gloves, padlocks, small electronics like handheld scanners. But it was after hours, and the cage was supposed to be locked. I turned the corner quietly and saw a figure crouched at the keypad. Dark hoodie, slim frame. Didn't see me yet. Then the lock beeped open. I stepped forward, fast. "Hey!" The guy flinched and ran. I chased him down the corridor, boots pounding wet concrete. He turned the corner near receiving and almost slipped. Then another figure stepped out of the shadows and tackled him. Hard. Both hit the ground. Daniel. I blinked. He'd just come out of nowhere and taken the guy down like it was instinct. I ran up, grabbing the kid's arm while Daniel pinned the legs. We got him still, and when I pulled the hood back, my jaw tensed. It was Tyrell, the same new guy who'd thrown a tantrum weeks ago. In his hands, a wrapped scanner, worth almost $700. Daniel sat back, breathing heavy. "You good?" I asked. He nodded, still catching his breath. "Guess those security instincts don't die." We both laughed. Sort of. After HR got involved and security filed their report, the managers pulled Daniel and me aside, said we'd done the right thing, saved the company a major incident. Daniel got a $100 bonus voucher for the employee store. I got nothing, which honestly, I was fine with, because later that night, while walking to the parking lot, Daniel stopped beside me and said, "You didn't have to back me, but you did." I looked at him. "You didn't have to step in, but you did." He gave a half smile. "We square now?" I thought about it, about the couch surfing, the ramen, the job interviews that went nowhere because someone had flagged my reference, the months I couldn't look at a clipboard without getting bitter. And yet, I wasn't that guy anymore. "Yeah," I said, "we're square." He nodded. "Good." We stood there in silence as the parking lot buzzed with bugs under the overhead light. Then Daniel turned to go. But before he left, I called after him. "Hey!" He turned. "You ever want to learn how to sketch? I still got extra pencils." He grinned. "I might take you up on that." A week after the attempted theft, things started to feel normal again. Not just at work, where the stolen scanner incident had already become old gossip, but inside me. Like some quiet knot I hadn't even realized I was carrying had finally started to come undone. I wasn't waking up with tension in my jaw anymore. Wasn't rehashing every interaction. Wasn't questioning whether I was justified in still being angry or foolish for letting it go. Daniel and I didn't become best friends overnight, but that wasn't the point. We started eating lunch at the same table, talking about normal things, baseball scores, bad movies, cheap headphones. Occasionally, he'd show me photos of his guitar, a beat-up Fender he'd been restoring. And one afternoon, I brought in a small sketch pad, tossed it on the table between us with 2 mechanical pencils. "Don't say I never offered, Eek," I said. He picked one up and held it like it was a foreign object. "Man, I haven't drawn anything since high school." "Good," I said. "Then you've got no bad habits." He laughed. "You know, for a guy who didn't speak to me for 5 years, you're kind of a decent teacher." "Yeah, well," I said, "for a guy who lied to save his own ass, you're kind of a fast learner." We both smiled. It wasn't a jab. Not really. It was acknowledgement. One night after a long shift, Daniel asked me if I wanted to grab a beer. I hesitated. That used to be our thing back in the Milltown days. Dive bar, 2-for-1 cans, greasy nachos. But this time felt different. Not nostalgic, just earned. We hit a quiet place near the highway, sat outside on a cracked picnic table while bugs swirled under yellow lamps and trucks roared past on I-75 in the distance. After a while, he said, "You know what really messed me up back then?" I glanced over. He wasn't looking at me, just sipping from his bottle. "I thought screwing someone over was just a way to survive, Senpai," he said. "Like, everyone's got to play dirty once in a while." And I figured, better them than me, right? He finally met my eyes. But then I spent years wondering why nobody trusted me, why no job stuck, why every relationship felt like it had an expiration date built in. I stayed quiet. He nodded toward me. "Then I saw you. And it was like, damn, he got through it. Didn't lie, didn't cut corners, and I realized I hadn't just hurt you. I'd sold myself short too." That hit harder than I expected. Not because I needed validation, but because I'd never heard him admit it out loud. "I thought about texting you for years," he said. "Didn't even know if your number was the same. But when I saw your name on the internal roster, I froze. Why didn't you say anything then?" "Because I thought you'd punch me," he said, half smiling. I smirked. "Would have been fair." "Yeah," he said, "but I'm glad you didn't." After that night, things between us shifted again, this time subtly. We weren't just coworkers now, not quite friends either. Something between the two. Something made of layers and quiet understanding. We had a rhythm. There was the way he'd drop off an extra energy drink on double shift days, or how I'd save him the last clean mop bucket when I finished early. We never talked about the wallet again. But every time I reached into my pocket and heard my keys jingle, I remembered that night, that quiet hallway, that moment when I opened a stranger's wallet and found a name that forced everything I thought I'd buried to surface. Months passed. Winter came. Daniel got promoted. Floor supervisor on B Wing. Deserved it, too. Not because he was loud, but because he showed up. Every day. Consistent. He told me once over coffee, "You know what discipline is, Kyle?" I shrugged. "It's giving people fewer reasons to doubt you," he said. That stuck. And strangely, I started sketching again. Just small things. Corners of the warehouse. Wrinkled vending machine wrappers. Once I even sketched the view from the break room window, snow piling on rusted pallets. Daniel hung that one on his locker. Didn't make a big deal about it. Just taped it up like it belonged there. About a year after that night, I saw a kid walking past the vending machine. Black hoodie, slim frame, and for a second, I froze. Then the kid dropped something. A wallet. I stepped forward, picked it up. Leather, a little worn. Inside, just a few bills and a student ID. I smiled, walked after him. "Hey!" I called. He turned, wide-eyed. "Think you dropped this?" He took it with both hands. "Oh, wow, thank you, sir." "Don't mention it," I said, but I did. Later, over coffee, I told Daniel the story. He grinned. "Did you hesitate?" he asked. I looked at him. "No," I said. "Not this time." If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.